Welcome to Spotlight on Everyday Heroes, where we explore extraordinary journeys of everyday achievers. Meet Jimmy Murray, the millennial house hacker turned corporate dropout, who went from a corporate job to running Lions Property Group, managing over 900 homes in Rhode Island and southern Massachusetts. Jimmy's open door policy and focus for his team's success, along with what he's learned from his mentors, has 10x company's growth. He believes in continuous self-improvement and personal growth, and his superpower is that he's always consistent and disciplined. Learn more from Jimmy here on my podcast. So I'm here with Jimmy Murray, who is the owner of property management company in Rhode Island. He is managing over 900 units, which is a big deal. I'm in property management myself, but 900 units is a big load. So how did you get into property management? And I know you, aside from property management, you're adding additional revenue streams, which I'd like to dive into as well. But let's get started and talk about how did you arrive at this point of starting your own company and managing the great team that you have, and building the team that you have.
I appreciate that. So honestly, it really started with a bad review at my corporate job. So I had it in the back of my head, and I can kind of dive into that, but I caught a bad review where honestly, my manager didn't let me speak at all. I walked back to my desk and I had texted my former partner like, hey, we're going to launch a property management company. But I had bought my first multifamily probably 3.5 years before that. And I quickly realized I did not win the birth lottery, and I've had to work super hard for everything that I have. So I started looking at the numbers. My background is in finance. And I said, all right, on my multifamily, I'm making X amount of dollars per month. And then looking at property management fees, I'm like, okay, they can make Y per month. They don't have the exposure on the equity side, but hey, this is how I dig my tunnel out of corporate America a little bit faster, building the property management company so I can have more control of my time. But also just, I love the people that I work with. So you spoke about the team. That's been one of the coolest things to build out, and just surrounding myself with great people.
You make it sound like it's such an easy thing. Surround yourself with great people. Right? How do you set your goals? How do you get to the next level? And then let's dive into the magic behind creating a great team.
So the big tagline here is always who, not how, right? But everyone thinks that who, not how is who do I need to go find? The who is who do I need to become? You need to become the leader worth following. So if you're not putting in the reps and you're not putting in the work, people are going to recognize that. When you become the leader worth following, that's when it becomes easy. That took me way too long to understand, because if you're an A player, you want to play with other A players. So if you own a company or run a business and you're a B player, you might be able to attract other B players or below, but that A player, if they come in and they recognize you're a B player, they're not going to stick around for long. So it comes down to who, not how, but it comes down to who you need to become. So then you can attract the who to help you do the how. I know that that's kind of wordy, but honestly, I think that's where entrepreneurs get stuck. They think, I have the idea, I'm going to attract all the people are going to do all the work for me. But if you want to build a really great team, and I've done this firsthand, the team that I have now is the best team that I've ever had. And it's because I've become the leader worth following. And that was the biggest thing in my pursuit of how I've gotten to where I am today.
That's a great insight, Jimmy. It's interesting that, and I hear that in interview after interview, that if you want to be successful in life, you really want to focus on yourself, on your personal growth. And that's a continuous journey. It's not a destination.
Yeah. So you're going to fall in love with the process, right? And I think it goes back to, like, I'm at the point now, I wake up every morning at 4:30 and I'm at my CrossFit gym by like 5 a.m. Yeah. But I have no excuse at 5 a.m. why I can't get in the gym. At noontime, I could have an excuse. Something could have gone sideways, could have a deal that I'm trying to close. But it starts with, if you want to be a great leader, you have to be selfish in order to be selfless. So you're going to be selfish in taking care of yourself. And I think about the leadership KPIs, right? So leadership KPIs are mind, body, and soul. And that's what's going to help you develop the skills to become a great leader, right? So mind, like you guys can see the books behind me. That's maybe like a third of my book collection. What podcasts are you listening to? So if you're listening here, you're in the right spot. So that's mind. Body, right? What are you eating? Are you drinking enough water? Are you moving every day? And honestly, just getting outside for a walk counts, because that's going to help you tremendously. I love my outdoor workouts. Last night, I actually increased the weight in my ruck from 10 pounds to 30 pounds on my outdoor walk. So if you see me leaning a little bit, my back's a little bit sore from that. And then soul, like, what do you believe in? So I'm not going to push my religion or my faith on anybody, but if you look at successful entrepreneurs, they all believe in some type of higher power, right? Whether it be Mother Earth or Jesus Christ, Buddha, whoever you want it to be, find a higher power to believe in. And when you align those 3 pillars of mind, body, and soul within your leadership KPIs, that's how you start to develop the skills to become the leader worth following.
Got it. Wow, that's not just one nugget of wisdom. There's a whole load of things that folks can learn off. Now, can you talk a little bit about what is, and you seem extremely motivated. You're reaching to one thing and then the next thing, and you know exactly where you're going. What is your process behind setting? Are you a goal setter, or how do you?
100%. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit about your process?
So 2 things here. I want to dive into goal setting second, because I think that's super, super important. But first, I think a lot of entrepreneurs catch a bad rap for being money driven, right? So you talk about motivation. If you are only money motivated, at some point, you're going to want to press that pause button, right? You're going to reach a certain level where you're going to get comfortable. You're going to want to press that pause button. But where I'm at, I'm purpose driven. So I have a series of goals, and this is kind of part 2, but I'm purpose driven in terms of, like, I'm looking at my vision board across the room right now. I want to be the top fundraiser for a charity that I believe wholeheartedly in, right? So that's purpose. I cannot be purpose driven unless to some extent I'm money driven, because that money is going to help me invest in my purpose, right? Making the donation, running the race, supporting the cause, right? And then it comes to goals, right? So goals are going to create, hopefully goals are going to lead to generating the money and to pursue the purpose, right? So that's how I'll back into it. But every year, towards the end of the year, I'll sit down with my team, and actually we'll have a check-in throughout the year. At year end, we're going to sit down, and they have to bring one major goal, and they have to explain their leading and lagging indicator. So the lagging indicator is the actual goal. So easiest way to think about this, if you want to lose weight, when you step on the scale, the number on the scale is your lagging indicator. The leading indicator is, all right, how many minutes of cardio doing? Are you lifting weights? What are the calories or macros you're putting into your body, and how much water you're drinking? So based on those leading indicators, that's going to help you get to that lagging indicator of reducing that number, increasing that number, whatever you're going after. If you're trying to build muscle or lose fat, whatever it may be. I love the in-body scanner. That's been like game changing, as my trainer introduced me to that. But it's not just setting the goal. It's what are the daily disciplines via the leading indicators. So if I want to sell $10 million a year in real estate, what do I have to do every single day? All right. Do I have to send mailers? Do I have to pick up the phone and call? Do I have to go out and network with people? Right? Whatever it may be. Honestly, one of my big things that actually leads to a lot of business for me are actually 2 things that I'm thinking about. One, it starts with building my machine, right? So building my machine is a social media play that I run, that I get a ton of DMs. And even like last week, I had this dude who was absolutely yoked, tapped me on the shoulder in the gym, and he's like, hey, are you Jimmy? Right? So build your machine leads to helping me talk to strangers. You have no idea the incredible conversations that you're going to have from talking to strangers. And I'm an introvert, so if I can do it, anybody who's an extrovert, listen to this, it's going to be super easy. I do not like talking to people.
To hear that, Jimmy.
Yeah, I want to sit here, I want to drink my coffee, and I want to read books. I don't want to talk to people, but I know in order to achieve my goals and in order to pursue my purpose, I have to talk to strangers, because there's an incredible amount of power in speaking with strangers in terms of that mutual exchange of value.
I like that. So I want to hone in a little bit on this. So you obviously pushed yourself out of your comfort zone to get more exposure, to drive a business, to talk to strangers, whatever it is, to be on social media and break those solitary boundaries that you need in order to recharge. So what was the hardest thing you've ever done for yourself in order to challenge yourself and break through those maybe boundaries or limitations of your mindset, wherever that was, in order to make that huge shift in the direction of where you are right now?
I'm trying to think through it. Like, honestly, my mind goes to just like sharing the personal stories, right? So in the beginning, so if you go back on my timeline on Facebook, in particular, because my coach says, hey, pick one platform and stay focused there to build your people. So like Justin on my team crushes on Instagram. My focus is Facebook, just as a dichotomy there. But my coach then dives in and he's like, hey, listen, when you post, he's like, in order to generate sales, people need to know, like, and trust you. So if you're only posting real estate content, and it's funny because my girlfriend Katie said this to me a long time ago. She's like, way too much real estate, post more real life stuff. And I didn't really listen, because you don't really listen to your spouse as much as you probably should. or at least I don't. I think it's kind of natural, but she always has really good insight. I need to listen to her way more often. My coach said it should be about a 70-30 mix.
It'd be less expensive too if you listen to her.
Oh yeah, way less expensive, but about a 70-30 mix. And I think one of the most difficult things is sharing stories from my life where my family comes at me on social media. So there've been a couple posts, and I've learned to just ignore it because of the impact that I've had on other people's lives. Because I know the people who I'm trying to target to help are sliding into my DMs and we're having powerful conversations, helping guide them along their journey. I mean, like, I won't dive too deep into it, but at one point in my life, I chose the wrong person to marry, and it led to a lengthy family court battle where I was alienated from my son for extended periods of time. And I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and tons of my time into structuring my case and beating some fake criminal charges, you name it. It was incredibly challenging. And there's a gentleman on my team, and he's going through something very similar, right? So because he knew I was open sharing that story on social media, he found us on social media before he started working with us, he came into my office, he said, hey, listen, this is what I'm battling. Like, can you help me out, right? So diving deep into my faith a little bit, I know that God will never give me a cross that I cannot bear. So in sharing my story and sharing how I bear that cross, that's how I help other people. But that was a huge hurdle to overcome because a lot of people think that when they're looking at you from the outside, they know the story, right? So like, I can remember one post, my family came at me and they're like, that's not how you grew up, but they weren't inside my home every day. Like, they don't know what that looks like. So even, it doesn't even, like, I think about my team upstairs, right? I'm with them a lot during the day. I see what goes on during the day. I don't know what goes on at home. I couldn't tell you the story of what happens, right? But that was being an introvert and wanting to be more private. Like, if I could go hide away on an island and just grow my own food every day and hang out with my dog and drink coffee, like, I'd be good. But I recognize that I have a higher calling. I have a higher purpose. So in sharing my story, it allows me to, put my story out there, but also hopefully provide some value to somebody else who's going through the struggle.
Right. So it sounds like being more vulnerable in front of people is a challenge to extent, of course, because you're exposing yourself in a ways that you don't know who's going to see it. And it's
no idea.
You're going to stay there. Or I'm sure you get pretty good traction and good eyes on your stuff. So just putting it out there is definitely a big step. So something to...
And you nailed it. You nailed it, that you don't know who sees it. I'm going to tell you that the most powerful conversations, and honestly, the opportunities been able to most monetize from social media to like real world relationships, are people who have never engaged with a single post. No reactions, no comments, no shares, but they're watching. And they're building that know, like, and trust with you over a period of time to a certain extent where they're like, hey, listen, I need this help. Can you help me here? Or, hey, listen, I followed your story for a while. Like, you're the realtor I want to work with. Can you come help me find a multi? And by the way, when you help me purchase that multi, like, Lion's definitely going to manage it as well. And that's where the consistency comes from the leading indicators and the daily disciplines. And that's how this kind of all ties together here.
Yeah, it's funny because I've noticed that people that talk a lot to you, they might not be your customer, but people that are somewhere hidden in the crowds, they're looking for that connecting thread, or we're more alike than we're different. And they're looking for 100%. That connection of, what do I have in common with that person? And that would build that like trust. And what is the other one?
Know, like, and trust.
Know, like, and trust. They're going to be like, Jimmy is my person. He's speaking to my heart. He's speaking to my soul. And I want to go with him because I feel like I'm already connected to him. That's interesting what social media creates, that intrinsic connection between people, even though, I don't know, do you really like it's a real thing?
I think it can be. So like, one of the biggest things that I picked up on recently, this is something that I picked up on another podcast, but you always hear fake it until you make it, right?
Yes.
I will tell you that, so people think that that's like acting like someone that you aren't. But I would tell you, if you're going to go out on social media and act like someone that you aren't, you're not going to have those real world relationships. It's not going to convert. Versus if you're vulnerable and you share real stories that connect, that's where you're going to develop those real relationships. But fake it till you make it. What that really means is look at your mentors. What are those guys doing? It's not faking that you have a Lambo or faking that you have $1 million house. I'm trying to fake your way through what they do best. Right? So one of my mentors was an extreme extrovert, loves talking to people, very, very good at it. I had to fake that I was good at talking to people. I'm awkward, right? Like, talking to strangers is like, how do you strike up a conversation with the cashier at the grocery store? If you can start, like, if you're an introvert and you can start having those conversations, everything else becomes so much easier, because you realize that we're all a little awkward. We never always say the right things, right? But if you can take genuine interest, hey, how's your day going? Hey, it's pretty busy in here, right? I had one cashier tell me the peaches I was buying were too expensive, but hey, that's another story.
And it's interesting because, there are two different personas you're describing here. There's one person that goes to the cashier and purchases those fruits and never talks to the person because they don't want to overcome that barrier and that feeling of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And there's that persona who's actually going to, like yourself, who's going to take that action and be like, you know what, I am very uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to take that step because I want to conquer those boundaries. I want to jam those, that feeling of being, like embarrassed, whatever it is, right? So
yeah, I think it's because I've recognized that the biggest gains come from suffering. I don't know, and this could get a little bit religious, but like in my life, the outcomes from the larger struggles have been so powerful, right? So even like, honestly, like straight up, I've been a fat kid my whole life. Like if I could eat pizza every day, I would, straight up. Like every meal, I just love pizza. Can't do that, right? So I got to watch my macros. So my biggest struggle is like making sure that my diet's on point. But now like I'm comfortable in my clothes because I've done those things. So that was a struggle for me. Like through the suffering, not being able to eat pizza every day. I know that's kind of like a lame example, but it's kind of an easy one. Or I don't know, in business, like business is always a struggle, right? It's hard being an entrepreneur. It's not like Instagram where everyone's cashing $1 million checks every day. It's not true, right? There are a lot of $50 and $100 checks in between. But through that suffering, I've been able to build a comfortable lifestyle where like, honestly, like I get to record a podcast at 11 on Friday rather than responding to emails, right? So some level of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that situation that you vulnerably shared with us about your son and your situation with your ex-wife, I think that I'm sure that was a big turning point in so many different ways, personally, professionally, and are you able to resonate with folks on that are going through similar things on that same level because you feel how they feel.
Yeah.
It gives you another superpower.
Yeah. It feels like a superpower now, but going through it doesn't. It was hard, very hard. But
I'm sure.
Everything happens for a reason. The biggest thing that I've learned in my life so far is that the universe unfolds perfectly. So everything happens to you for a reason. You may not know why now, but do you know the story of the Chinese farmer? I don't know if this is pretty good. I guess a lot of people aren't familiar with this. So
on it.
So this is good. So story of the Chinese farmer. Chinese farmer has horses. I don't know why it's the Chinese farmer. It's just the proverb online, I guess. He has horses and he trains horses. And one day, one of his horses breaks out. And the next door neighbor comes over and says to the farmer, hey, that was really unlucky. The farmer said, well, maybe. And then the next day the farmer wakes up and rather than the 2 horses he normally has, one that escaped, he has 3. So the one that escaped had come back and it brought a wild horse back with it. So the neighbor comes back over and the neighbor says, hey, that's really lucky. And the farmer says, well, maybe. And so then the farmer's son is training the wild horse and the next ends up falling off the horse and breaking his leg. So the neighbor comes back over and is like, hey, that's really unlucky. And the farmer says, well, maybe. And then the next day, the government decides that they're going to war. So the military comes into town and they're looking for any military-age male to go to war. And they overlook the farmer's son because he has a broken leg. And the neighbor comes back over and says, hey, that's really lucky. And the farmer says, well, maybe, right? So as we're going through life, we don't know whether it's good or bad until the end of the game, right? And hopefully we all live very long lives. But as things happen to us, could feel real good in the moment, but we don't know. We don't know the outcome. So it's kind of having that positive aspect in terms of like, these things are happening for us along our journey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. And I've noticed that even in my case, I've forced things sometimes because we do know what we want, right? And if
I think that's the hard part, right? Because like I call myself a stubborn Irishman sometimes, right? I'm of Irish heritage, and like sometimes I just want to put my head down and be the bull and run through the wall, and then sometimes I try to dial it back, right? So to some extent you're going to put in work, but it's like that delicate balance of like we're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of times things unfold into well maybe much better if you just kind of set your mind on it, maybe take action towards it and surrender versus.
Oh, I love that.
Kind of like checking at your calling, depends on the industry, of course, but.
Right. Yeah. Don't force it, but surrender, like follow your process, but don't try to over push it.
Don't get upset because that could cause a lot of. Anyway,
absolutely.
Great nuggets. I do want to ask you about your secrets of building a great team because through watching your social media, funnily enough, I've been noticing that you put a lot of focus on building and growing your team. And I think that could be part of your purpose behind what you do. But I'd like to know more. How do you attract the right talent? How do you allow them? How do you create that environment for them to blossom and continue to grow as they continue to contribute into the growth of your company?
So for me, it's giving with the expectation of nothing in return, right? So when someone comes in, I normally have an open, or I typically have open door policy. Anything they're thinking about, I'll be an open book. I will give them my full jaded opinion and help guide them towards whatever they want to do to win, right? So we set goals, we make vision boards, and I let these guys know like, hey, listen, my dream is big enough that we can share a similar vision. So whatever your dream is, like, let me help you get there. And we have these conversations frequently. I try to help guide them. And I think that's kind of like my journey being a father, right? How do I help guide my kids? And I kind of see that as like a leader over his flock. Like, how do I help everybody in my organization grow? And like when someone has a win, like I genuinely get excited. Like these guys think I'm a little bit crazy. I'll get up, we'll do the high five, we'll do the fist bump, but I want to see these guys win. And I want to see them grow into the best version of themselves. But again, I'm going to go back to, it becomes easier attracting the right talent and the right people around you when you are the right person to follow. So when I'm putting in the work every day and I'm sharing that part of my story of, hey, these are the things that I'm building, this is the work that I'm putting in, people are picking up on that. And they're like, hey, listen, I want to be around that, because energy is contagious, right? So if I'm bringing the right energy and I bring the right folks into my organization and we share in that energy, I think about the story of the Belgian drought horses. So everyone thinks like Clydesdales are like the strongest hot horses, but truly Belgian drought horses are the strongest horses. Individually, a Belgian drought horse can pull 14,000 pounds. When you pair two Belgian drought horses together, they can pull 35,000 pounds, right? So 14 plus 14 is 28. So they get 7,000 pounds of additional pull when you put them together. And that's the power of surrounding yourself with the right people and bringing the right energy and having the right team.
Right. Yeah, I do hear that a lot, that surrounding yourself with like-minded people will not only benefit your business, but also continue to help you grow with your team and by growing your team. Now, what about yourself individually? You mentioned coaching. So you work with coaches, and how did that help you excel, or maybe
coaching has been so critical. So I first started coaching, I found a coach out of Canada, and I always had this idea that the property management business was a hub and that I could build spokes off the hub. I think the property management, and actually I now know the property management business is probably one of the most easily vertically integrated businesses ever created, because within our income statement, say we spend $200,000 on plumbing. Well, okay, I can go buy a plumbing company. I know that I have the work. It's not like I'm launching a fresh business. I have to go find the work. Like the property management company has it built in. You name it, electrical, pest control, whatever it may be. So it's easier to incubate startup businesses that, one, can serve as a property management company, but two, can also go to the public. So I found a coach out of Canada that actually did that. And he helped us refine our processes to really get them honed in, right? So, and that's the other thing, like if you bring in somebody to work on your team and they come in and they see that your back office and your operations are an absolute mess, like nobody wants to be a part of that. So when they come in and they see the level that we're playing at and they're like, hey, I can add to this and I can play with this team, they get really excited about those opportunities, right? And they see like, all right, if we're here and they take value in this and they want to continue to grow, that's the continued opportunity for them to flourish as well. Last year, I think I spent about $60,000 on coaching. So I had like an individual coach that actually owns a vertically integrated business, our real estate investment business, 3,000 door property management company, does 1,000 transactions a year on the retail side, and does somewhere between 240, 250 wholesale or off-market flips or opportunities. So I found that coach and I said, hey, listen, he's 10 years ahead of me. Let me go invest in that coaching in order to take those fruits back so I can more readily build my team. I'll tell you guys that are listening in, anything that you're looking to build, somebody has already built in some way, right? So how can you go? It's the same thing like buying your way into rooms. I bought my way into rooms with multiple high-level entrepreneurs, and just having those conversations and sharing meals and sharing stories about our businesses. Those are the gold bars that you can take back and put to work in your business and execute against that game plan. That something that could have taken you 5 years may take you 1 year now, because you had a couple of hacks along the way of like, hey, don't do it this way, like do it this way, and this will lead to faster gains. So you can bring more value to your people at the end of the day.
I love it. So that helped you, that helped your business, and also helped attract the right talent so they can see that your head is in the right place, you know how to run the business, and you continue to grow yourself as a leader. So folks are striving to be part of that because it's attractive.
I think the biggest thing is sharing the vision. Like literally, if you walk out to our conference room right now, we have our 10-year vision right out there. So hey, listen, 5,000 doors in 5 communities. That's what the goal is. So they know, they're like, all right, well, if we're at 900 now, we want to get to 5,000. We got some work ahead of us. But hey, by the way, we have a vision. We're not just showing up to work every day and putting the work and like getting a paycheck. The vision's a little bit deeper.
Do you want to talk quickly about, do you guys have any open positions right now? What are the companies that you currently have under Lion's team?
So under Lion Property Group, we have a 900-door property management company. First pillar that we built out, we have a team of 7 realtors as well. So that is called the Lion team. We're under Here Realty. I love my broker. I think he's brilliant. He's helped me out tremendously. I know the investment side, so knowing the retail side is super helpful. I also have a flip entity called Lion Kings. So we flip 12 to 15 houses a year in that entity, and that actually feeds the retail side of things. But then also, like, we have the in-house team that actually prepares houses, and that helps out on the flip side too. So you can see how they're all kind of tied together here. Outside of that, I also own a portfolio of rentals. I have 47 units that I own myself and with partners. And the last component is that we've been working on building an off-market engine in order to drive further opportunities. So my goal over the next 2 to 3 years is, how can I develop a system where I pick a market, we come in, we generate the off-market opportunities to find the investors. We can flip houses ourselves in that market, but we can also find the other investors flipping. They most likely hold as well. That builds the management company and then also builds the retail side of things. So I call it the three-headed goat, or three-headed beast rather, in terms of, all right, can we pick a market, we move in, run the marketing plan, and then we build 3 companies simultaneously.
Amazing. Jimmy has achieved so far already, and he still has even bigger goals ahead of him. So I commend you on everything you've done so far. Towards the end of the interview, I would like to ask my favorite question is, obviously you are very successful in what you do, and there's so many great things ahead of you, great purpose driven. What is your definition of success currently?
Yeah, my definition of success is living a life that you love. Right. So just yesterday, like, I had a guy that asked me, I was out at a competition. We were judging some future business leaders of America, kids that had come out and they built these business plans. He's like, hey man, when do you turn it off? I'm like, well, I don't. Like, I love what I do, so I don't have to turn it off. He said, I can still go on vacation, but I might still try to clear a couple of deals because the best deals always come through when you're on vacation, right? But success is building a life that you don't have to take a vacation from, in my opinion, right? Building a life that you love, that you can live every day. And you don't have to look forward to like that next trip, or you don't have to dread going to work every day. I get super excited coming in here because I've built a life that I love and I enjoy living every day.
Amazing. And it didn't happen overnight, I'm sure. It sounds like you've spent years and years and a lot of time and money and coaching. But I think you hit the nail on the head where you said that working with coaches, you can get there yourself, of course, but it's going to take you time, and you're paying for the coach's experience, coach's mistakes that they've done along the way to get you to where they are. So that's another point to consider for folks that looking to advance in life, having a coach and also having that accountability. I feel like, I don't know if it's the same for you. You seem to be very self-driven. I know for me, it does help to have a coach to be accountable for the things that I say I'm going to do. To actually do it.
You know what? I hear that. I'm with you 100%. Now that I've built out my team, I know I never want to be standing in front of the team and they say, well, you said you're going to do this and you didn't. Like, I never want to be there. So like when I wake up in the morning, like that's the first thing I think about. Like, all right, what was the promise I made to my team? I gotta go make sure that I execute on that game plan.
I love it. Yeah. So you are accountable to your team. You have a family. You have a newborn. Well, it's only almost a year old now, right?
Yeah. Yep. She's 10 months. She is incredible. So much.
A lot of people that rely on you. So you definitely have to keep that A game on. And I appreciate sharing the secrets on how you do it. And you obviously aced it. Is there anything towards the closure that you wanted to share with our listeners that we haven't touched upon?
I think the biggest thing like that I go back to is just like the power of reading, right? I just love reading books. And I think that in today's day and age, everybody wants to listen to books or they want to just listen to podcasts. But I think the power of reading, don't lose sight of the power of reading. I think that personally, that's how I built my skill set and been able to level up a lot faster than I would have without reading. So pick up a
Can you make a recommendation of 2 to 3 books that folks can...
Yeah, actually. So I got one on my desk right now. This is not typical. So this is my favorite right now, Buy Your Time Back by Dan Martell. So I'm going to be instituting that. Another big favorite is the book on mental toughness by Andy Frisella. And then another big favorite is Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David.
Perfect. So Jimmy, do you have any guiding principles that kind of motivate you or drive your overall life purpose that you want to share with the audience?
Absolutely. So I think it goes back to the core values that I built into my company. So one of the core values is personal excellence. That's 1% better every day. And I know that that sounds like a lot because it is. You're going to wake up every day. But at the end of my life, when I get there, there's going to be a version of me that's 100%. And I want to be 100% of the person that I could have become. I don't want to leave anything on the table. So that's why I wake up every day and I stay focused on executing against the game plan, because I want to become 100% of that person that I could have become while I'm on this earth.
Perfect. That's amazing. I mean, I think that's something that, if you can become even like 0.001% better.
Yeah.
Still in progress, right?
100%. Yeah. And then it's all about the amount of days that you can win. You're not going to win every day. It's just like I grew up playing a ton of baseball. You go out there and you always try to pitch a perfect game and play a perfect game, but we know that the odds of that happening are slim and none. But as long as you go out there and try to get better, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. And I like how you said that your 100%, even that 100% of that 1% better will be different every day. Your A game is different every day.
Oh, yeah.
If you promise yourself that you're going to give 100% to whatever that 100% of that day is, it's still
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll share your contact information for folks that want to get with you to get recharged if they need, or if they have any property management questions, or they're looking to sell their property. Sounds like Jimmy can do it all and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thank you so much. Great nuggets. And what an amazing journey. I hope you pat yourself on the back for just kind of going down that memory lane with me today and just realizing how much of a great work you've done so far. And I'm sure you're really excited. You sound like you're really excited to continue to go on that trajectory and achieve even greater things for yourself, for your family, for your teammates, and growing the people, investing in the people around you. That's really big.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on today. It's been a great experience. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Spotlight on Everyday Heroes. Did you enjoy hearing the inspiring story of our guest? Are you feeling motivated to carve out your own unique path to success? If so, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you want to join the conversation and share your own success story, or if you have a guest recommendation, head on over to our website at www.capitalturners.com and let us know.